Breaking Minnesota Vikings news coming to you on this Thursday morning. The Minnesota Vikings plan to release running back Dalvin Cook. The Dalvin Cook saga and this kind of story finally comes to an end here on this Thursday morning. We'll be getting into all this and more right now. Welcome to the Vikings Now. I will be your host for today's show. We're going to be breaking down the Vikings cutting Dalvin Cook. But first, guys, this is why you subscribe. Anytime, any type of breaking news, rumors, whatever it may be around the Minnesota Vikings, we will have a video for you guys ASAP. So go down there, hit that subscribe button. We're closing in on 13,000 subscribers. My goal is to hit that before the preseason. So help us out here at Chat Sports and hit that subscribe button. But let's talk about it. Tom Pelissero was the first one to break the news, and he said the Vikings and four-time Pro Bowl running back Dalvin Cook are parting ways. And then he added this note. He said, one of the NFL's most dynamic playmakers, Cook, is coming off a fourth straight 1,000-yard season and has 52 career touchdowns. Now he will be a free agent at the age of 27 and will have multiple suitors, which I agree. I think teams like the Broncos, Dolphins, even a team like the Cowboys, Bills, Jets, I think those teams will all have interest. But Albert Breer with a key note here as well. He said the Vikings have informed Dalvin Cook they are moving on. After efforts to find a middle ground failed, they will wait and see if a suitable last-minute trade offer comes along, cut him if one doesn't, which I think is a good kind of tidbit by Albert Breer, because we have seen a lot of AFC East teams connected to Dalvin Cook through this whole kind of process. And the teams like the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets have all three been heavily connected. I could see maybe one of them just saying, like, you know what, Minnesota, take this fifth-round pick. We'll take Dalvin Cook to kind of ensure that he doesn't go to another team in the division. So I thought this was a good point by Breer. But overall, Dalvin Cook, he won't be on the Minnesota Vikings anymore. The 2017 second-round pick will be released following 6 seasons. His cap hit in 2023 was going to be $14.1 million. And if you combine that with what Madison was going to make, the Vikings running back room would have taken up around $20 million on this year's cap. And we know our GM, our second-year GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he's a very analytical, driven GM, and putting that much money into the running back room just didn't really fit his MO. And then also Dalvin was also coming off a career-low rushing average in 2022 with 4.4 yards per carry. We get into all this and more. But first, guys, give me your one-word reaction to Dalvin Cook being released. I have a lot of emotions going on right now. You know, I think it was the needed move, and I think it was expected, but I'm also a little upset. I'm also a little upset by this move, but let me know. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, sit back, let it play, and give me your one-word reaction to Dalvin Cook being cut. My one word is expected. You know, starting with this whole saga dating back to damn near the NFL draft, like, multiple reports came out at first, like, expect the Vikings to move on. And then it was like, maybe expect Dalvin Cook to take a pay cut. And then it turned into maybe the Vikings will try to trade Dalvin Cook to the Dolphins or the Cowboys or the Bills, whoever it may be. But I think the Vikings moving on, it is expected. I saw this coming the entire offseason. It just made too much sense. But from the cap saving side of it, the Vikings will save $9 million on this year's cap, which is huge because we all know Justin Jefferson, he's going to get that hefty contract extension soon. And then next offseason, Christian Darrisaw, franchise left tackle, he's going to get paid as well. But the dead cap hit, it's 5.1 in 2024 and also 3.1 the following season. But we've really seen the decline in Dalvin's game. And I've showed you guys this graphic multiple times on the show. The rushing yards over expected. The nerds over there at PFF, they predict how many yards running back should get on a certain rushing play. And back in 2020, Dalvin averaged almost a whole yard more than expected per run. But this past year, he was actually in the negative. Out of all 32 starting running backs in the league, Dalvin was the worst in rushing yards over expected. He was actually tied for the league lead in carries that went for 1 yard or less this past season at 63. He just hasn't been the same guy. For talking numbers for the past 4 seasons, again, that 2022 season for Dalvin, he was absolutely fantastic. You could have made an argument he was the best running back in the league next to Derrick Henry. I always said if Dalvin Cook was healthy, ready to go, There's not another running back I would have had in the league over him with his dual threat ability. That 2020 season, he was special. But if you're taking a look at the yards per carry, 5.1, 4.7, 4.4, the decline is there. And we have seen these running backs in the NFL. They hit that age 27, 28, and Dalvin is 27 years old right now. They really hit a wall, and they take a step back. But this is what the Vikings running back room is looking like after the release of Dalvin Cook. Alexander Mattison, I think he'll take RB1 reps. Kevin O'Connell talked about that at Minnesota Vikings OTAs, that he could see Mattison being a really solid 3-down back. But then you got guys behind him. Like the two guys that I'm going to point out here, Ty Chandler and DeWayne McBride. DeWayne McBride, who he drafted in the seventh round of this past year's draft out of UAB, and then Ty Chandler, the 5th rounder out of North Carolina last season. Those two guys I am super excited to see get carries, because I think those are guys that just need the touches to kind of show themselves and prove their worth in the NFL. And obviously you got the gadget guy in Kene Nwangwu, and then the fullback C.J. Ham. But I'll ask you guys this. What is your confidence level in the Vikings running back room following the release of Mr. Cook? Let me know. Scale it 1, 2 through 10 down in the comments section. Guys, I'm sitting at a flat-out 10. I have full confidence in this running back room, and a lot of you guys might be raising your eyebrow at that, saying, how could you possibly think, or how could you possibly get a 10 on a confidence level of 1 through 10 after moving off a Pro Bowl running back? It's because of the guys behind him. I've always wanted this team to be more of a running back by committee. You know, the legs stay fresher, and I think a combination of Mattison, Ty Chandler, and DeWayne McBride could be very special. But Mattison, he is going to get majority of the workload here. This past season, 74 carries, 283 yards. His yards per carry was down this season at 3.8 and 5 touchdowns on the season. But I think Mattison is a guy that he is better as the game goes on. I think if there's any running back on this room right now that could potentially be a workhorse running back, it is 100% Alexander Mattison. I'm excited to see what he can do. Then we're talking about Ty Chandler. He hasn't really had too many reps in the NFL so far because he was buried on the depth chart last season. But he was a monster in college. His career college stats, he started at Tennessee, transferred over to North Carolina for his senior season, but 603 carries, just over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and still 5.2 yards per carry. Ty Chandler's a special black back. He's extremely explosive, getting in and out of cuts. He can turn that corner, get upfield super, super fast. But this guy I'm also incredibly excited about. Our 7th-round rookie. If we're talking about any Vikings draft pick that fired me up more in this last year's draft, it was actually DeWayne McBride, because if you toss on his highlights, you go on YouTube later on today, if you're just curious about what this Vikings running back room could look like, throw on DeWayne McBride highlights from this past season. 233 carries, 1,700 yards, 7.4 yards per carry, and 19 touchdowns for DeWayne McBride. I think he could have a big season, and that's why just overall I want this team to be more of a running back by committee. Yes, you move off Cook, and it's going to have some adjustment there, but you have 3 solid running backs in Mattison, Chandler, and McBride, and then you also have the gadget guy in Kene Nwangwu. I really think Kevin O'Connell can get super creative, and I think this overall, our legs will be fresher in that running back room. I think it's going to be more, like I've been saying, a running back by committee, split carries, where then in the later months of the NFL season, when we're trying to win the division, you're trying to go on a playoff push. Overall, the Vikings have healthier legs, because we have seen Dalvin in the past couple of seasons. He has kind of taken that step back later on in the year when the times when it gets colder in the NFL season. It's more smash mouth football, and you rely more on your running game and your defense. We have really seen Dalvin kind of take that step back. So I'm super excited to see what those guys have to do. And I want to make this one key note. The biggest kind of take or loss, I think, from this whole situation with losing Dalvin Cook is the locker room presence. He was such a great locker room leader for the Minnesota Vikings. So I do think that is one key tidbit that the Vikings might be a little concerned about. But in terms of teams that are interested in Dalvin Cook, if he were to be cut, obviously the Dolphins have been connected to him this entire offseason long. But then the Denver Broncos, I could see Sean Payton, obviously with his time with the New Orleans Saints, he had a little rivalry with the Minnesota Vikings. I could see him trying to stick it to us and go and nabbing Dalvin Cook. You never know. I mean, Javonte Williams dealing with that torn ACL. I think Dalvin, he'll end up in the AFC East in whether it's a Dolphins, Bills, or Jets. But who really knows? It's going to be probably Dalvin's choice once he hits free agency. Guys, make sure you guys are subscribed. We'll be your one-stop shop for all Vikings news and rumors. Anytime breaking news like this happens, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. And obviously, we've heard the Danielle Hunter trade rumors kind of heat up lately. So if he gets moved, same thing. We'll have a video for you guys. As always, go Vikes.